Welcome to Living Chassidus. Together, let's live the Chassidus we learn.
Okay, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Chassidus the morning, Kuntres HaTefila. 15 minutes, with a little bit of new setup. I have a bookcase. Just before we start, we're in the middle of Parak Hey, 5 prakim to go until we've finished the whole thing, which is a huge success for everybody. And keep up the good work, everyone. It's joining. Just two quick things. Yesterday we were talking about, basically we're having a whole discussion in Das. So Das, and then it's one of the things he talks about talks to a lot of places in Chassidus about it. That Das is, especially with kids that don't have Das, they lack Das. Like I told you the story about the kid and we're hitting the baseball bat. That Das doesn't mean a lack of knowledge, of knowing or understanding a concept. It's a lack of feeling the concept. And this is something that I think. So I want the story connects with that. That when I was in California, in Florida last week, and I lost my glasses. So one of my sons, he's a very mature kid, and I had 2 days without my glasses, and I always have my glasses. At one point I realized they never said anything to me, never asked about it, never intrigued. So I asked him about it. He's listening. So I asked him about it, and I said, I noticed you didn't ask me anything, you didn't say anything. It's sort of like it doesn't make a difference to you. So I was a little shocked. He's a very mature, sensitive kid, and he's like, yeah. And I realized it's this concept. He might understand. I'm sure he does understand all the details of what it means to be able to see properly without your glasses and all those things. But again, it's a lack of das. And another quick story that I was learning recently with someone. I was learning with the Rebbe, which I haven't done actually in a while. And it was a mime, it's called Ata Echad. It was edited over from the Rebbe. Coming with you now. It was published in 1990. Check it up. It's basically the whole mime is about love. And the love of a parent to a child is really because God loves us so much. And I was like, so Baruch Hashem, I learned Chassidus, and I have this, I've tried to apply some of these concepts, and I have, to a certain extent at least, a level of das in my learning. So I was learning it, and it was very emotional, very an intense experience, reading, trying to understand different levels of love between a parent and a child, which I have, and the difference between a few children versus the love the parent has for one child, which one's greater, or is there greater? And then in contrast to God's love for us and how much God loves us. And I was like, wow, this is very powerful. So I was learning with my friend, and I could also see that he hasn't applied necessarily all what we've learned here. And he wasn't as excited as I was. And in the end, I was like, wow, thank you so much. Whoa, this changed my whole day. And he said to me, he goes, I need to stop learning Chassidus like Nigla. Meaning he was learning it very, very cold, I guess, very intellectually, and this I wanted to point out, one of the many things, but we say here in I think there's a few places, that when a person learns, he thinks about the cognitive process, not the godliness within it. And this is sort of what was happening to him. He was learning it's not that you shouldn't learn it well, and the Rebbe talks about plenty of time. We should learn Chassidus like we learn Nigla, and learn Nigla like we learn Chassidus. The point is, the Rebbe is saying, we shouldn't just gloss over it, but we should learn it. We should really internalize in depth, like we learn a piece of Gemara and then really work on it. So he's saying the same thing, but it's not that you learn it in a way that it doesn't have anything no relationship to you. You have to learn in a way that it's you, it's talking about you in your life, and see how it relates to you. And I think this is sort of and so he unfortunately wasn't, and that's why either he had learned the Maimon a few times already. But it was very cold calculated, whereas for me, it was a lot more of an emotional experience. Not that I wasn't reading the words properly. I was paying attention in the same way he was. It's just the connection that I had was because I was reading something about myself, about my life. And this is sort of the lesson. And this is really ultimately, I've said it a few times, but I hope to get this point across, that the aim of learning this is not to think to yourself that I needed to spend an hour learning Chassidus or meditating in order to have any impact. But the takeaway message is, when I learn Chassidus, I should learn it as I'm reading the storybook of my life, and let me see how this is, and let me see what I can learn from it. Like my friend, he didn't stop to think that, hey, what are we saying here? We're saying God loves us. What level of love? And we were getting to the details of levels of love and the difference between God's love for us, either like a parent-only child versus the love that God has for us, many children. And it's an important point to understand. But don't lose the forest for the trees. And the forest is that God loves us. He never said, and I was telling him, he didn't say he loves us because we did Torah mitzvahs. He says he loves us like a child. A parent loves his child, and it's important to try to find what's the theme, what's the message, and the main message, like in general, also. And another quick point, I don't want to take too much time, but I think is very important. Another message is, if we ever feel we're putting ourselves down in any way, then we got to stop. So this is nothing to do with putting yourself down. And we say a lot of harsh things, and this is not, necessarily we do say a lot of harsh things, especially here. But the harsh things are not coming to put you down, it's coming to be honest. There's a difference between putting yourself down and being honest. Putting yourself down is just trying to hurt yourself and hurt your feelings and make yourself feel not good. The opposite is true in Chassidus. Chassidus never puts you down. When it says something serious, something, let's say, what we would call harsh, it's not coming to hurt you. It's coming to wake you up, to realize how much potential you have. And sometimes it's a little harsh, but we have to look at it as, I could be so much greater. I can be so much more. I'm not fulfilling my potential. That's how we have to feel about ourselves. And if we're feeling anything but that, then we should stop and say, this is not what this is all about, and I shouldn't be doing this myself, because what we're meant to come out of this is that I want to go and daven and I want to learn. It could be that it'll take me another 10 years for that to actually happen, but that's fine. But if we get the message that Chassidus is like this stuff there for me that could help me connect to God, and I want to learn that, and I want to try to understand that, and I'll put in the effort, and I'll ask questions, I'll try to get help. That's what we're trying to achieve here. I think it's important. Everything we learn Chassidus, and especially here, that I want everyone to come out of here, first of all, proud of themselves that they stuck through it, and that they realize that Chassidus is meant to give. I'm meant to have an emotional connection with what I'm learning, and not just a cold, intellectual, interesting, random piece of information. Doesn't care. I want to be able to get up to be for rain more. Okay, so we're on page 56 at the bottom. And we were discussing Das. We're going to come to Das. And remember, Das is this connection we have to it. And like my friend was saying, he was learning it very too cold calculated. That we should learn this world, but we should learn in a way that it's talking about me and my life, and or there's a message here that's meant to be for me, that I'm meant to be thinking about how I can connect to God more, how much God loves me, and how much I want to be connected to that. Sensation of love and awe. Now, bottom of 56. Now, although sensory perception occurs in the brain, just as the nerves are physically located in the brain is known, nevertheless, it extends to the heart. So the sensory, it's coming from the brain into the heart. I.e., the heart senses the matter that is grasped by the mind. I mean, you learn Chassidus in a way that you're thinking, that you know that it's connected to you, that it's relevant to you. So then, automatically, when you're learning it, and you're trying to understand what it means, as you understand what it means, so this means how much God loves me, that automatically it bleeds, so to speak, into the heart, and the heart connects with this, and that becomes excited. The excitement being commensurate with the type of conception in his mind, and based off what you're learning and how you're learning it and how much you're understanding it is how much that excitement will be in the heart. Like I happened to me on Shabbos, that I was getting emotionally excited. In the physical realm, when a person senses the benefits of money or fame, he feels the matter in his heart. So when we see the benefit of having money or being famous or something, we feel that feeling, and we can think about it. This is so to speak, a meditation we could have. We just think about what would it feel like if we had money or we became famous. People thought of us very chashuv. And how would that feel? And that feeling we get is good, and it's sort of we should be having the same way in when we're learning. He feels the matter in his heart, which is then stirred with a love or yearning for it. which causes us to want it. Conversely, when he senses the shortcomings of lowliness, he wants none of it at all. So to the opposite, thinking about what does it mean to be on the streets, or not have any money and struggle, it makes us very uncomfortable. We don't even think about it. In one's avodah, when a person senses the essence of a godly insight, the sensation extends automatically into his heart too. And so we can have that same feeling, just like we'd feel uncomfortable thinking about being poor, or on the contrary, thinking about being rich, how much that would feel, and be able to sense that. So we can have that same sense, the same feeling when it comes to godly ideas, which then becomes excited over the godliness. And so we're thinking about godly concepts, it gets excited, and that gets excited about godliness. The ecstasy may be a close one, i.e. a yearning to draw nearer to God and to cleave to him. That's one way. They'll want us to, like, wow, God loves me so much. Like I said on Shabbos, I'm like, oh, wow. I was thinking about like what I'd learned. Wow, God loves me so much. Yeah, man, what do you want me to do? You want me to do a mitzvah? Yeah, let me go do the mitzvah, man. You love me. God loves me. Wow, how amazing is that? So this happens when a person reflects on either the proximity of godliness or its loftiness, for there is no limit to his greatness. And you can get this either from realizing that God's close to you, meaning he sits and he cares about you, or how great and grand and grandeur he is. As explained elsewhere, a peripheral love is born from reflection on the closeness of godliness. A more inward love is evoked by the meditation on the greatness and loftiness of the listening safe. So there's a lower level love that's produced by feeling how connected, how close you are to God. And there's a deeper level love that you can produce by realizing how great God is and how infinite he is. But either way, realizing how great God is, and God needs you. Similarly, when a person reflects on how everything is not in relation to him, or when he reflects on how infinite light is found below just as above, his emotions are always aroused. And when we understand what all the levels, well, as much as we can understand how great God is, and then we realize how much that level of godliness is way above and beyond anything is also here. So that again, it arouses in awe. And the more we understand, and that's the purpose of learning. We learn it, and through the learning, and it helps us understand it. And the more we understand it, the more we can connect to it. And that's what he's saying. That the more we learn, the more we understand, the more we think about what we've learned in terms of this, in very simple, practical terms, not in like Kabbalistic, terms, but in English, in languages that we can understand and we can share with someone that doesn't understand anything, the more we'll connect to it. The specifics concerning contemplation of these matters are explained elsewhere. The feeling in the heart and its ecstasy comes automatically. So when you think about it and you realize that this is what you're talking about and how it relates to you, so automatically that will extend itself to your heart and you'll feel it. Without any effort. A person doesn't need to exert himself in order to sense the godly theme in his heart and to be excited with a love or awe. Rather, it proceeds and flows automatically from the brain to the heart through the medium of das. Because das, you're connecting to it, you're thinking about the idea in terms of yourself, and automatically that helps bring that godly idea, and it will automatically come into the heart that you'll feel it. First, das draws it and elevates the heart's excitement to the brain. So the das brings that connection, that like you think about something that's connected to you, which brings your heart along, as mentioned above. And afterwards, the ecstasy is elicited from the brain back to the heart. So the heart comes closer, and then the brain gives it to the heart. The whole process happens automatically. This is all automatically. But simply, you learn it. You're learning something in term, and it's something that you're connecting to, meaning something got to do relation, like this love, like understanding the love between a parent and a child, and how great that love is, and how great your love your parents have to you or you have to your children. And then thinking about that really is source for the love that God has for us. That God has an infinitely greater love than that. When you think about that, it's like that should hopefully produce, if you have a das connection to it, meaning it's not just intellectual, but like you sense that idea, you can sense the idea of the love that a parent has to a child, from your own experiences, and you're like, wow, and God loves me that way. And what would my parent do for me? What wouldn't they do for me? And that is sourced, their ability to have that is from God, that God's love for us is infinitely greater than that. And that should produce a little bit of something in immersion, hopefully. And if not, it's also fine. It's a process. What's the time? Yeah, I think it's stop here. Yeah, I was hoping to finish this week, but I don't think it's going to be so practical. I don't want to run through it, but we're doing good. We're doing good, people. Yeah, we're up to page 60 on the top. We'll stop here. And also, we're going to make sure to have a Ferengen And I want everyone to be able to get something, to take home a message from this, something they can take and they can live with.